So first of all, I would ask people to rise and face the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So welcome to the second summit. We know what this is going out on cable, and others will be coming in. We chose to do this second one, the select board, myself, Dennis Tian, Josh Donati, Aaron Bowles-Welsh, and Demetria Sullivan, to continue the communication and the update from various departments. Similar to what we did last time, we have selected a few. They have 10 minutes, and our timekeeper, Joe Hamilton, is here, and people laugh, but people look at that clock, and in order to keep things moving, we try to give a little leeway there, but not too much, because we have a lot to do. We're going to have a cover, a lot of folks the first hour, and the second hour is Steve Cirillo from Collins Center, who in January and June has presented a financial model, for the town, and with town meeting coming up, we thought it was important to remind people of the impact of votes and what the financial picture looks like for the town. And from here on, this tool is something that Leon and John will use in order to update and keep everybody informed about what is happening. So we have, so as you all remember, there are no PowerPoint presentations in the first part. I know some people, they get a little nervous when they can't look at their screen, but through the hard work of Amanda, Brady, and others, we have something else that's going to help you out, and not just for tonight, but future. So do you want to throw up the code? So the Wi-Fi for this room here is DPS guest. So if you click on it and go, it's going to take you to all the reports that various town departments had submitted, and this will continuously be updated. So it's a great resource for you to go and to see what's happening in all the various departments, including what is being presented tonight. Eventually will be put up there. So going to start right off with Town Council Lauren Goldberg and Town Clerk Paul Munchback. Now, I said 10 minutes. They're going to get a little extra because it's two of them, but they know the deal. So come on up. And by the way, just to remind folks, anybody has any questions at the end, we're done, you're welcome to come up and ask folks. We're just going to move things along, so questions will be at the end of the night, informally in front. So who's going to go first?
I don't have my glasses, so I couldn't tell. Don't tell anyone. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and we intend to talk fast. So thank you for having us tonight, and to all of you for coming. Paul and I are going to talk about the conflict of interest law, the open meeting law, and the public records law, and we're going to try to do that quickly with just kind of the major takeaways so that we don't take up too much time. Anybody who knows me knows I could speak on this for the rest of the night, so I'm going to rein myself in. So the first law the reason we're talking about these laws is they're essentially known as the three-legged stool of municipal law. Whatever board you're on, whatever committee you serve on, you really need to know these three laws, and you don't need to know them by heart, but you need to know the point of them, and they're what's called sunshine laws. And so the conflict of interest law is essentially intended to have you be loyal to the town rather than to personal interests. The open meeting law takes the position that every policy decision that's made by a board or committee should happen at an open meeting, and the public records law says any records that are created by public officials, including volunteers, need to be available to the public. So with that, I will start with the conflict of interest law. Essentially what that law does, as I said, is it makes it keeps you loyal to the town. If you have an interest in a particular matter, a financial interest in a particular matter, whether it's big or small, as long as it's reasonably foreseeable, you cannot participate in that as an elected official, and as an appointed official, you can't participate unless the appointing authority gives you an exemption. So if there's something that's before you and you live right next door, or you're involved with the funding for the particular project or issue, that's the kind of thing where you need to either request an exemption or just recuse yourself. And recusal is different than just not voting or abstaining. Instead, if you're recusing yourself, you need to actually leave the table where the board or committee is sitting and go sit in the audience as a regular member. If you sit at the table, the State Ethics Commission gets really upset and does view that as participation for purposes of the law. I should mention the conflict of interest law has criminal repercussions for violations. It's unusual, but it is possible. Then the other law that you should really know about for conflict of interest law is the representation issue. And that's essentially you aren't allowed to represent anyone other than the town in a matter in which the town has a direct and foreseeable interest. So that essentially means if you're an attorney, you can't represent other clients against the town unless you're what's known as a special municipal employee. And I forget what the list is, but I think it's a lot of the appointed boards are special municipal employees. You can't appear before your own board is the important part of that. And unless you are sure you're a special municipal employee, you shouldn't be reaching out to the town on behalf of someone other than the town, like Little League or, a different kind of association that does things in town. So that's the conflict of interest law. I always say just think about it as a giant red flag. If someone is before you and you have a funny feeling that people would say that it looks weird, maybe they're your best friend or they're someone that you've done business with over the years, even if you don't have a financial interest, it's best to make that disclosure to the people at the meeting and or to do it in writing ahead of time. And the reason for that is not everybody knows who you are and not everybody knows your relationship to this person. If they find out later, we don't want them to think, oh, well, that would have gone differently if we knew that wasn't his best friend kind of thing. So big red flag if you feel uncomfortable. And as I said, recuse yourself. Don't just sit at the table and abstain. Get up from the table and sit in the audience. Okay, so that's conflict of interest law. The next law we're going to talk about is the open meeting law, which all of you are impacted by anytime you have a meeting. The open meeting law is essentially intended to make sure that the public has notice of your meetings. They need at least 48 weekday hour notice of all meetings, and that the meetings are in a place that's publicly accessible and open, that's open to the public and handicap accessible. Those meetings are supposed to happen according to an agenda, and that agenda also needs to be posted. The agenda has to list the specific matters you're going to discuss and not just general topics. So it's not, fall licenses, it's specific fall soil licenses at the following locations. So if you're still using an agenda that says something like old business, new business, you really have to be more specific than that. If you know what the new business is, you have to list it. Then the other thing that you're required to do with the open meeting law is create minutes of your meetings. And just like the agenda, they're supposed to be very specific. Who asked questions, who gave responses, and those minutes have to be approved in 3 meetings or 30 days, whichever is longer. So rather than just sit on minutes, and have copies of minutes that are in draft form for a number of months, you're supposed to approve them on a regular basis. It's convenient to do so on a regular basis because you don't wind up with a backlog, but it's also required by law. Those minutes implicate public records law as well. They're public records forever. They're permanent records. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Paul to talk a little bit about logistics of public records law.
Thanks, Lauren. So how does what Lauren just explained affect with the town clerk's office? So the first thing that, while the open meeting law and the state ethics law and public records all are state mandated, we also regulate it within the town. So the first thing that with the regulations is under our bylaws 91.1 is that after 30 days following our town elections, the select board are directed to have a open meeting law training, ethics training, and public records training, usually by KP Law, so that all our new boards and committees and even the older boards can refresh, will have updated information on the updated records for public meetings, open meeting law, and state ethics. So the town is moving forward to making sure that the boards and committees are well informed, but if not, they can always contact the town clerk's office. Also within our bylaws and our charter, we also have provisions that are kind of work with the state law, but not directly, is the ever famous citizens' participation. While it's not required by the open meeting law, by state law, we do have a bylaw that states that we will have on our agendas an area for citizens or open comment, public comment. And so we ask that you can put it on the beginning or the end of the agenda, but we just want to make sure that if you have any questions with that, once again, call the town clerk's office. The second thing is, as Lauren mentioned, is with the open meeting law, anytime we have a template agenda for all our meetings, it's pretty simple. We can send it to any of the boards or committees that need it so that they can formulate their agenda and make sure that the agenda is as detailed as possible. If there needs to be an amended portion to the agenda, make sure that you highlight that in red and write amended on the top so that a reasonable person looking at that agenda could see where the change was and why it was amended. The meeting is 48 hours of posting. Remember, though, Saturdays and Sundays are not included. So if you're posting for Monday, I need that agenda on Thursday so that we can get it posted in the town hall at a location also that's accessible for anybody with a disability, and that we can get it up on the website. And when you send it, you can send a copy to myself and to agendas. Myself, Amanda, the Public Information Officer Director, can make sure that we get it up there. Also, on our website, we also have with our town code. Our town code is constructed of our bylaws and our charter. And within there, we'll also give guidelines of what the responsibilities of the open meeting law is, the state ethics, but it also gives what our responsibilities of our chairperson of each committee is. And some of those are ensuring that the committee's webpage includes a list of all the members and it's updated. Sometimes there's been a change in leadership. Just let us know and we'll make sure that we get that updated for you. Posting the meeting dates and information, whether it's the chairperson or the clerk that does it, it's the chairperson's responsibility to make sure that that's all correct. And also making sure that the minutes are done in a timely manner. All those are due to help the public, that they can be involved and that it's transparent on what's going to happen at a meeting, and that if there's any changes, they're notified. While we have, because of COVID, and the Governor Baker signed in a declaration in 2020, I believe, that was just extended to 2025, March of 2025. And how it affects the open meeting law is that we can still continue with the hybrid meetings, and one of them is also allowing it changes to remain in place for the remote participation, which helps, once again, the boards and committees, but it also helps the public. The last thing I want to mention is public record requests. We do have a public record request portal for the public. So, and what we'll do from that portal is we'll assign either each department that the request might relate to. That request, we ask them to review it, and if they have any information that they're able to provide, not to create, but that they have on hand and able to provide, is to respond to that public record request so that we can get that out in a timely manner. Once again, we have 10 days to respond, so we need just a little bit of time to get everything in place. But each department has a liaison, and with the boards and committees, probably not as much affected by it, but we just want to make sure that that is something that we're continually following up with. We probably get 10 to 15 public record requests a day, and I know that's including the schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Lauren, could I just ask you just to briefly just mention about training that's going to be scheduled during the month of November for boards?
Yes.
Based on action by the select board recently?
Yes, absolutely. There was recently a case that was decided that kind of changed the way that we look at public participation and the way that we control public participation in our meetings. And one of the things that Paul pointed out is your charter requires that there be a public participation portion of your meeting. The Select Board has been working diligently on adopting a policy, which they recently did, and we're going to be sharing that policy and doing training so that chairs understand the kind of new space that we're in, and so that everybody is on the same page with regard to how the public is invited to participate in board and committee meetings.
Thank you. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Lauren. Okay, next, Planning Board Chair, Mike Podolsky.
Good evening. I'll put this up a little bit, maybe. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Good evening. My name is Mike Podolsky. I'm currently serving as the chairman of the Dedham Planning Board. I'm going to give you tonight, hopefully, an outline of what the Planning Board's been up to since February, and some overlapping with February. But first, give you a description of what the board, who the board is on, who's on the board, what our duties are, and then move on to a quick review of our activities over the past few months. Our planning board's comprised of 5 elected members. Presently serving as vice chair is Jessica Porter. Presently serving as our clerk is James O'Brien. And presently serving as our other members are John Bethany and James McGrail. Our associate member is Drew Popoli. Associate member only gets called on in the event of a recusal by a member on the board. They can't sit on a major site plan review or something of that nature. Each planning board member serves a term of 5 years. All the terms are staggered. So one position a year is up for election. If you get elected, you're on for 5 years. The planning board is aptly supported by what is now called the Planning and Zoning Department in the Town Hall. Our department consists of our planning director, Jeremy Rosenberg, who is here tonight, our senior planner, Michelle Tinga, who I'm very sad to learn is going to be leaving our department after 5 years. We wish her well in her future endeavors. Our economic development director, Jason Schultz, and Kelly Leahy, who is our office manager. Give you a quick thumbnail sketch of what the planning board does. So we basically are in control of large-scale development, commercial, some small-scale commercial development, and some residential development. Although Dedham is so built out now for residential, it's very rare that we get a residential subdivision, but it does happen occasionally. By the way, subdivision is controlled by a whole new subdivision control laws, so we won't get far into those tonight because they don't occur much anymore. We have the duty of holding public hearings and evaluate proposed amendments to the Dedham zoning bylaw, and sometimes we also review proposals to amend the bylaws brought by citizens or town meeting members. More on that later. In addition to being a regulatory board, that's the planning board, also oversees the preparation and filing of the town's master plan, which I'm happy to say that we're finishing up probably within the next few months and be presented to the town meeting in the spring of 2024. So I thought the easiest way to get you to understand what we do is take you on a real quick tour of the town. So I'm going to start in the Dedham Mall. The Dedham Mall has been before the board on a number of items over the last few months. The first and most important one you might know as of Total Wine. Total Wine's new store opened down the mall. If you haven't been in it yet, I encourage you just to go visit. It's the largest wine liquor store I've ever seen in my life. Anyways, they had to come before the planning board because we had to work with them on parking and traffic. And they finally were able to satisfy us for opening that new, just that one store at the end of the mall, but they have to come back. We have more plans for the mall which need to be addressed. So phases 2 and 3, we hope that the new mall management's coming in to see us. The other thing that's going on down the mall is just recently is Tesla, the electric car company, has been before the board with a proposal to install 12 superchargers. And they want to put them in the parking lot between Chick-fil-A and Ocean State. We're still working with them, but eventually, if they do get approved, it's going to be a major place for people to go with electric vehicles and charge their vehicles in a very fast manner. Taking out East Dedham. In East Dedham, I hope you've all noticed that the Lapa Plaza has finally got a new facelift after many, many years of pursuit to get that. About the only thing left now is the new parking lot, which we're hoping is going to be done sometime by November. It's going to have all new stormwater management, obviously new striping, and even some more landscaping. So we're hoping when that parking lot's done, that we'll have and the new facelift is completed, the East Dedham Plaza will look like brand new. Next is the 3080 High Street condos, also in East Dedham Square. We've been working with the neighborhood down there to try to bring an old site plan into compliance. Condominium management over the years has done some things in their parking lot, removed landscaping, and have really drawn the ire of the neighborhood. And we're trying to work with the owners and with the neighborhood to try to get a new parking plan in there with speed humps, signage, moving of a dumpster which faces on Cass Ave right now and is a terrible eyesore on trash day, and a couple other things. We're trying to work with them. It hasn't been easy. It's not over yet, but that's where we are. If you move to Oakdale Square, you might recall there's a dentist's office in Dedham Square, in Oakdale Square. The applicant's been before us. That dental practice has bought the building where the old 7-Eleven is. So they're redoing it, renovating it into a new dental office for them. They're getting rid of the office that presently exists. And we're working with them on getting parking and traffic situated properly in Oakdale Square. We're also working with Mariposo Childcare, which is located on Fairview Street, just outside Oakdale Square. They've come to us with requesting an increase in their enrollment. It's a Spanish-speaking immersion school, very, very popular, very, very far-sighted, and we're trying to work with them in the neighborhood to make it work for traffic and parking because they drastically want to increase their enrollment. Legacy Place. Legacy Place, as you know from last presentation, there's going to be 293 apartments going up in the rock pile. It'll eventually be done. It hasn't started yet. They had a ton of engineering to do, but it's been permitted. It's just a question of when they will start. We've also been working with all the stakeholders along Legacy Boulevard. In case you didn't know, Legacy Boulevard is a private way, private street, not owned by the town. So in order to get improvements made to that, we have to get all the owners who would join that boulevard to agree, and we have got them to agree with the work of Jeremy and his staff. And we also have some money in the bank, and they're going to try to straighten the roadway, widen it, put sidewalks on it, so it'll be a much more easier in and out for people who want to go to Legacy Place, Costco, and that type of thing. And finally, down at Legacy, we have been scoping, that's an informal review, a new proposal for apartments, 150 units, I believe, with some mixed-use commercial on Sturgis Way. Now, this particular roadway, small roadway off of Legacy, goes down to Wigham Pond, and the proposal is that this new development will be next to Wigham Pond and is going to be providing all kinds of amenities along Wigham Pond, which we're trying to get access to, which will be talked about a little bit later. And next to Legacy Place, right near it, the last thing I want to speak about quickly is the old Chili's on Route 1. Many people say, whatever happened to Chili's? Well, we have permitted a building that's called iFly, and it's an indoor skydiving facility. We're waiting for them to break ground. They're allowed to go forward. It's going to be an interesting source of recreation for townspeople and those from outside. Moving on to the Dedham Plaza. I know we're all anxiously awaiting the opening of Kelly's Roast Beef, which was permitted last year. I think they got the for hire sign up, so I think they're pretty close. And we're anticipating that the owners of the plaza are going to be coming before us very soon to enlarge and expand on their permitting plans for there. If you go to Washington Street, which is just beyond the back of the plaza, we have just permitted a 16,000 square foot daycare center. It's going to enter and exit off of Washington Street. It's going to be located on the corner of Wilson Avenue. It's a very large building, going to have a lot of students. I had personal concerns about it, but it's not approved yet to go forward because Washington Street in that area is a public highway, so they have to go and get approval for access and egress through the Massachusetts Department of Transportation. And until they get that, they can't start work. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Moving then on to the Dedham Square. Dedham Square, as you know, has been the site of a lot of development over the years during my terms on the planning board. We have just approved, in case you hadn't watched last meeting, the redevelopment renovation of the old Needham Bank and the temple next door. The developer had agreed that he will not tear those buildings down, and instead he's going to renovate them. We're going to end up with, I believe, 26 or 27 apartments, a small commercial use, and we're still waiting on getting some parking and access plans, but it's basically an approved plan. The town green, as you know, is ready to go. Pulled the building down. I understand that we probably have bids out ready to start developing it in the spring of 2024. The public safety building, as you know, admitted fire and police earlier this spring, and we're just finishing up, tidying up the last aspects of the new parking lot between town hall and the public safety building, as well as a new pocket park that's going to be there. So, and then talking about what else we do, well, we have a study going on right now, the Bridge Street corridor improvement, which has been studied for almost a year now. We're hoping to come back to town meeting with some improvements to try to limit development along the Bridge Street corridor, while at the same time allowing development of some nature. The other night, we were presented with the Wiggum Pond Survey Recreation Plan, which would whole year work. It's been presented, approved, and endorsed by the planning board. It's the first step towards perhaps getting real public access to Wiggum Pond. It's a little bit off in the future, but the plan's on the books now. So I'm going to skip a couple of notes here because I know my time's up. I'm sorry about that. So I would like to just thank the Board of Selectmen and the town for having us come before you for this presentation tonight. We really appreciate the opportunity to bring you up to date on where we are and what we do. We work very hard, both the board and the planning zoning department, extremely hard and continue to want to work to ensure the community's proud of what we produce when we review plans. And through the town website, planning and zoning department, Facebook, mailings, agendas, Facebook Live events, and Dedham TV, we look forward to our continued collaboration with all the town. On behalf of the planning board and the planning department, thank you all.
Thanks, Mike.
You're welcome.
Lots going on in every single neighborhood. So we appreciate that update, Mike, and the members of the planning board. For those that might have missed the Wi-Fi password, as we have done previously, if you click on that code, you'll be taken to the town's website and you'll be able to see reports. The Wi-Fi password is DPS guest. So next we're going to invite up Blake Lucas, Dedham Westwood Water District Executive Director. We thought it was important for folks to hear what's going on in the district. Welcome.
Can everyone hear me all right?
Put the microphone up, Blake, if you can.
that better?
Be perfect.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. Again, my name is Blake Lucas, and I'm the Executive Director of the Dedham Westwood Water District. First, I'm going to provide a brief overview of the district, including how we came to be, our assets and functions. So the Dedham Westwood Water District is a self-supporting branch of local government responsible for providing drinking water and fire suppression to the towns of Dedham and Westwood. The district origins go back to 1876, when the Dedham Water Company was first created. It wasn't until 1985 that the towns of Dedham and Westwood town meetings voted to unanimously take over the Dedham Water Company's assets and come to be what is known as the Dedham Westwood Water District today. So the Board of Water Commissioners governs the district. The Select Board for each community appoints 3 members from Dedham and 3 members from Westwood to oversee the district. They meet in public meetings that are held monthly. They are typically the first and third Tuesdays of each month. They are held at the district's headquarters at 50 Elm Street in Dedham. And like other boards and commissions for the town of Dedham and Westwood, our formal meeting agendas are publicly posted 48 hours in advance, and we are subject to open meeting law. Bylaws and formal rules and regulations govern the district, which are approved by the Board of Water Commissioners. So the district's water is sourced locally from groundwater. We have 16 wells that provide the drinking water for the communities, 12 of which are in Dedham and 4 are in Westwood. The district has the capability to purchase additional water from the Massachusetts Water Resources Authority, also known as the MWRA. Additional water is typically purchased during the summer months to meet high demands. This year, the MWRA waived its entrance fee requirements for the ability to purchase additional water. Therefore, in July of 2023, the district secured the ability to purchase additional MWRA water, increasing its allotment from 73 million gallons to 565 million gallons per year. This does not mean that the district will be purchasing this water or using that amount of water from the MWRA, but it will have the ability to do so if and when necessary. The district saved approximately $5 million by capitalizing on this waiver opportunity with the MWRA to secure this water. In addition to our groundwater wells, we have 3 facilities. We have our district headquarters at 50 Elm Street in Dedham. We have our Bridge Street Water Treatment Plant in Bridge Street in Dedham. And we have the White Lodge Water Treatment Facility on University Ave in Westwood. So additional notable assets include 210 miles of water mains, 13,330 service connections to all the residents and businesses in the communities, 1,600 fire hydrants. We have 5 emergency bypass connections with neighboring water systems in the event of an emergency. We have 8 booster pump stations to boost pressure within our system, and 4 storage tanks totaling 4.8 million gallons of water. 2 of those tanks serve the town of Dedham and 2 of which serve the town of Westwood. Our daily operations consist of 3 distinct departments. We have our distribution department. They oversee the maintenance of water mains, our water services to our residents and businesses, our fire hydrants, and our gate valves. And they respond to emergencies 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The second department is our production department. They oversee the water treatment process. They perform all of our water quality testing and perform operation and maintenance at both of our treatment plants, all of the pumping stations, and all of the storage tanks. They handle all calls outside of the normal business hours for the district. They are responsible for regulatory reporting, and they require actually routine staffing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at our Bridge Street facility. And lastly, we have our administration and customer service department, and they oversee the meter reading and water billing, meter maintenance and installations, our backflow regulatory device testing, all of our financials, including accounts payable and receivable, payroll, purchasing, employee benefits, budget implementation, and audit preparation. Again, this department also responds 24/7. So next, I will be discussing our capital improvements. The district allocates funding annually to improve capital assets such as water infrastructure, buildings, vehicles, and metering equipment. In April of 2023, water main improvements were made on Veterans Road and Oakland Terrace in Dedham. Work included the installation of approximately 2,100 feet of water main, new fire hydrants, valves, and other appurtenances, and also replacing the district-owned portion of the service connections to all of the businesses or residents within the project area. In capital projects, we strive to work proactively with the town of Dedham and its Department of Public Works. The town's paving schedule will often dictate what we prioritize for water main infrastructure work. One project on our radar for the future, it's upcoming, is the Dedham East Street Bridge and roadway reconstruction. So again, upgrading our infrastructure before the road paving makes the best sense. We plan our work with the town of Dedham and the MBTA to minimize construction impacts. Again, we do this because we try not to make cuts in brand new roadways, so whenever we can, we get in front and we replace our infrastructure before the new roadway goes down. I would also note that that saves money for both the taxpayers and our ratepayers, because you're only paving the road once rather than paving it when the town goes through and then repaving it when we do our infrastructure improvements. So there are two new regulations that we would like to inform you of this evening. So the first is the lead and copper rule revisions, also known as the LCRR. They were announced in December of 21 by the United States EPA to better protect communities from exposure to lead in drinking water. The revised rule will require public suppliers to create a lead service line inventory and replacement schedule by October of 2024. In addition, sampling protocols have been changed to better meet the sciences behind how lead and copper enter the water. And there are increased sampling requirements for schools and daycare facilities, some of which were not previously included in sampling programs. So all public water suppliers across the country are required to comply with these new regulations. In June of 2023, the district received a $907,000 state revolving fund grant from Mass DEP and the Massachusetts Clean Water Trust to support the creation of an inventory that meets the LCRR requirements. We launched our inventory project last month by mailing approximately 12,000 postcards to customers whose water service line material was unknown. The card provided information of how to locate, identify, and submit your service line material to the district online. Service line ownership is split between the district and the customer. The district owns the portion of the service line from the water main to the curb stop, which is typically located in the sidewalk or in one's front lawn. And then the customer owns their service line from that curb stop into the property to the meter. Both sides of the service could be two different types of materials, connection at the water main to the street versus what's in the house. That being said, the district does not have schematics or records of the customer-owned portion of that service. The only way to get this information is by having the customer or having someone go into the homes and businesses and identify the service material in person. The district has conducted public outreach for the project at several community events. We were at Dedham Day, we were at Westwood Day, and we've been at farmers markets in both communities as well. Also, information has been sent to all local media outlets and the towns themselves. We've given out complimentary project kits at events. They're available at our office and they're available at some of the town offices as well. The kits include magnets and mini screwdrivers, just little things that can help a customer identify what their service line material is. Our goal is to have all of this information collected by November 30th. To date, we have received over 750 submissions. If information is not received before the end of this year, we will be going door to door to conduct inspections ourselves or through a contractor. I encourage everyone here to please help us with this inventory project by submitting your service line material or talking to your friends and neighbors about doing so as well. The second regulatory requirement that we would like to discuss is the revised drinking water standards for per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances, otherwise known as PFAS. So PFAS is a family of chemicals that has been used for over 70 years to manufacture water-resistant, stain-resistant, and non-stick products. Unfortunately, there are thousands of these compounds that exist and are currently being used to manufacture products today. More recently, PFAS compounds have been coined the forever chemical because they do not break down easily, and therefore, once they're in the environment, they stay there for a very long time. PFAS is prevalent in many products that are used every day by consumers, such as personal healthcare products, household cleaning products, paints, varnishes, fast food wrappers, fire extinguishing foam, non-stick cookware, and waterproof clothing and shoes. I promise I'll be just another minute. There are many ways that PFAS can make it from these everyday products into the environment. Some of these include discharge from manufacturing processes, industrial uses such as fertilizers, aqueous firefighting foam, leaching from landfills, residential uses, and wastewater treatment plant discharges. As mentioned, once these compounds enter the environment, they stay there pretty much forever. Right now, there is no federal drinking water standard. However, recently this year, the EPA released their proposed standards, lowering the limit from the current Massachusetts limit for 2 of the compounds to 4 parts per trillion. If their proposed ruling is accepted, the district will be required to comply with the new standards. EPA's final ruling is anticipated to be done out by the end of this year, and we will have an effective implementation date of about 2 years after that. So Massachusetts is one of the several states that set PFAS public drinking water standards of 20 parts per trillion a couple of years ago. As you can see, 20 parts per trillion is a little bit different than the 4 the EPA is coming out with. So since Massachusetts promulgated regulations, we have monitored PFAS levels at each of our treatment plants monthly. The levels have varied from 7 to 17 parts per trillion at our Bridge Street facility and 9 to 20 parts per trillion at our White Lodge facility. Although our monthly results have varied, we have found no rhyme or reason or distinct pattern for the fluctuations in the PFAS levels found in our source water. In February, the district presented to both town select boards to discuss PFAS and talk about implementing PFAS treatment given the impending federal regulations. Currently, we have a pilot study underway at both of our treatment plants to test 2 treatment techniques, granular activated carbon and ion exchange. The district has also funded full design for each of these in this fiscal year, which will commence after the pilot testing is complete. The district is looking at different ways of funding these improvements, including grant opportunities, rate adjustments, and/or debt service overrides. As we discuss funding options with our Board of Water Commissioners over the next year, we will actively reach out to the towns and the community for feedback. The last thing that I would like to mention is that the district is working with SL Environmental Law in a multi-district litigation against 3M, DuPont, and other manufacturers of PFAS compounds. The reason for joining this lawsuit is to protect our ratepayers and recoup some of the invested costs to reduce PFAS levels in our water. So with that, I thank you very much for this opportunity to present to you tonight.
Thanks very much, Blake. Appreciate it. And thanks for the commissioners and Steve for coming tonight. Next, Council on Aging Director, Courtney Daly. Welcome. Again, Wi-Fi password, DPS guest. And by tomorrow, all the kids will have it, and so middle school will have to deal with everybody being on their phones. Go ahead. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Courtney Daly, the new director here at the Ames Senior Center. I've been with the Senior Center for 5 years, being named the director in July. My staff and I are proudly serving older adults in Dedham, welcoming anyone 55 years and older, which is just over 20% of our town's population. At the Ames Senior Center, our programming and social services are designed to incorporate the mind, body, and soul. We are happy to offer fitness programs for all levels every day. Other weekly classes and groups are expanding, and as we engage the community to broaden our offerings and provide them with activities that pique their interest. Our social services have recently expanded with a bereavement and caregiver support group, and also focusing on adult isolation. We collaborate with multiple departments on our programming, including the library, Parks and Recs, Health Department, and Veteran Services. We were always thinking forward on how we can meet the needs of a wide range of seniors as our older adult population is growing. Our last calendar year, we welcomed 6,500 seniors into our center. So far this year, we have welcomed over 9,500. We provide transportation for more than 80 Dedham residents with our 3 vehicles. We go to medical appointments, grocery stores, food pantry, and have monthly trips to Walmart and Castle Island. Our doors are always open to those who have not visited us yet, and we are doing regular outreach programming to to our services and offering more available to all weekly, excuse me, doing regular outreach to make our services and offerings more available to all with weekly emails, monthly newsletter, and our Facebook page. We look forward to welcoming all Dedham seniors. Thank you.
Courtney, thank you, and thank you for the work that you're doing. We know that the bottom of Town Hall, the Senior Center, is active, and really the engagement and the outreach you have done, as well as staff, is really appreciated, because we know that there are many people, especially during COVID, the elderly, who are really isolated, and your work and your efforts to help them pull out of that isolation now is greatly appreciated, so thank you. Next, welcome Superintendent of Schools, Nan Murphy. So I don't know whether we call you still new superintendent. I mean, you've been here for how many months, and it probably feels like forever, Nan?
A little of both, yes,
Welcome.
absolutely. Well, thank you, Chair and community members. I'm thrilled to be here with you tonight. On September 1st, a team of 603 adults, including a brand new superintendent, arrived to Dedham Middle School to officially begin the 2023-2024 school year. This amazing team is comprised of adults that support teaching and learning across the district, including educators, nurses, food service workers, office administrators, custodial staff, and before and after care workers. My convocation speech to the team highlighted the importance of taking the time to develop meaningful relationships and connections with each and every one of our students. Soon, 2,723 students followed. In preschool, we have 131 students. In kindergarten, we have 213. In grades 1 through 5, we have 1,034. In grades 6 through 8, we have 565. And at the high school, we have 745 students. Our district strategic plan continues to focus our work around curriculum development, data usage, and professional learning structures. These priority areas ensure that all students have a unified, coherent learning experience as they proceed through their academic years. Strategic initiatives have brought continuity and quality to our pre-K programs of study in reading, writing, science, and mathematics. This fall, we have 20 educators in grades K through 5 piloting 2 high-quality reading programs for possible adoption. This is in response to recent research findings elevating the importance of the critical components of the science of reading. The alignment and renewal of our pre-K history and social sciences, health and wellness, fine and performing arts curriculum are on the horizon and will remain a strategic priority for the district in the months to come and also in the years ahead. Targeted and rigorous instruction is alive in the district. Dedham High School was recently recognized across the Commonwealth for its high participation rates in advanced placement coursework. DHS has earned a place at the College Board AP School Honor Roll for the 2022-2023 school year. Our high school was further recognized by receiving the AP Access Award, which honors schools that encourage low-income and underrepresented minority students to take AP courses. The vast majority of our high school graduates remain college-bound, and recent graduates are attending Yale, Providence College, Northeastern University, Michigan State University, Middlebury College, and Boston College, just to name a few. Our student athletes continue to strive to maintain Division III state championship titles, and performing arts and programs continues to engage students in high-quality performing and programming across all 7 schools. Beginning in early September, Dedham Public Schools was one of the lucky districts in the Commonwealth to welcome international students. At this time, there are 140 new families, from which the Dedham Public Schools has welcomed 63 students in pre-K through 12. Federal and state funding accompany each student. Dedham's per capita allocation is $21,269. Our international student population comes with a per pupil allocation of $18,720. The estimated cost when a new student arrives to the Dedham Public Schools is $5,000. This covers curriculum-related expenses and extracurricular participation. As a result, Dedham Public Schools stands to gain substantial funding from which we will use the majority to provide rich and engaging opportunities for all students across the district. Education Commissioner Jeff Riley visited Dedham Public Schools last Thursday. He was being told of what a formidable job Dedham is doing welcoming our new students. He met with educators, school leaders, and students to better understand our work in the hope to bring it back and share it with other district leaders. What a day for Dedham Public Schools. You may have heard that the Dedham Public Schools has a proposed building project in the works. DPS has been fortunate to have received 3 school buildings over the course of the last 20 years and are extremely excited by the idea of bringing the Green Lodge and Oakdale school communities together in a state-of-the-art elementary school. The SBRC has put forth a plan to build a new school on the Oakdale property, which includes removing the current Oakdale building for possible expansion space to enhance the project with fields and open space. The school department has developed a facilities subcommittee, which will be tasked in part to develop a thoughtful plan for using the Green Lodge building and/or field space once it is vacated to continue to serve the Green Lodge and broader Dedham community. The MSBA will provide a substantial contribution to the project costs. We'll consider and vote on Dedham's submission on February 28th, 24. An anticipated townwide vote and town meeting vote on the project and debt exclusion within 120 days of the MSBA's approval is expected. If the town votes to move forward with this building project with the consolidated Green Lodge Oakdale Elementary School on the Oakdale property, we expect construction to begin in the spring of 2025 with an anticipated date of opening and welcoming students in September of 2026. In addition to Green Lodge and Oakdale project, the maintenance of other aging buildings continues to require significant resources. For example, the high school at 64 years old and the Riverdale School at 103 years old require extensive roof and rehabilitation to address exterior walls and windows, as well as the heating and climate control challenges. The exterior of our school buildings in no way reflect the amazing teaching and learning that's happening within. In my short time in Dedham, I have been overwhelmed by the collective efforts of town and state officials interested in supporting the needs of students in our schools. I look forward to all of our future collaborations. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent. Next, Town Manager, Leon Goodwin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I want to thank the school department for allowing us to use the middle school this evening for this meeting. It's definitely a nice building to hold these types of events in. I also want to thank everyone else for joining us this evening for an update on our collective achievements since the last Townwide Summit in February. As town manager, I have the pleasure of walking into and working in Dedham's Town Hall every day, a building which has been an integral part of the town's history for more than 125 years. Originally constructed as a school, it has witnessed numerous transformations throughout its existence. However, in my opinion, its latest iteration is the best yet. Our newly renovated Town Hall and Senior Center is a harmonious blend of historical charm and modern functionality. The Town Hall has ample space and amenities to house our employees in collaborative workspaces, host multiple simultaneous meetings of volunteer boards and committees 3 or 4 nights a week, and make our residents feel both welcome and proud as they conduct their business with the town. At the same time, the Senior Center provides a dedicated town-owned space to our growing senior population for the first time in Dedham's history. It's quite a remarkable achievement that they tried for so many years to get that, and we finally have it. This one remarkable building is not just a testament to our dedication to honoring the past, but also our commitment to adapting to the future. Adjacent to the Town Hall and Senior Center, we are in the final stages of completing a much-needed state-of-the-art public safety building. The construction project addresses a long-standing concern, the outdated, unhealthy, and unsafe conditions in which our firefighters, police officers, and dispatchers previously worked. The new public safety building represents a significant step forward, prioritizing the safety, comfort, and efficiency of those who selflessly protect our community. It's equipped with advanced health and safety features, up-to-date training facilities, and cutting-edge technology to enable our first responders to perform at their best and continue to provide the exceptional service to our residents of Dedham. Last but not least, the municipal campus now has ample parking for employees and visitors alike. If you haven't visited in a while, we encourage you to stop by. Again, there are plenty of parking spaces all around the building now, which is a welcome addition. And there's also a Park at Park, as was mentioned by Chair Podolsky. Unfortunately, the good work that local government does on a day-to-day basis is easy to overlook, especially as we focus on whatever issue is dominating the moment, which is only exacerbated by social media and our rapid-fire news cycle. Getting things done in local government isn't easy or fast, and that's partly by design. We all have opinions and ideas, and it sometimes takes a while for consensus to form. It's not unusual for a project to take several years from design to completion. Moreover, it often takes years to even get to the point where we're designing something. Because before that happens, we must weave our way through study committees, financial plans, and work with various boards and committees before ultimately getting funding approval from town meeting. As we go through these steps time and time again, because we do it for every project and major initiative, it's important to remember that constructive civil discourse and debate is part of getting to the best possible outcome for the town. Sure, it can be frustrating at times, but the end result is worth it. Take, for example, the new Town Hall, Senior Center, this middle school, etc. Even as we wrap up a couple of big projects, we are already looking to the future. To that end, the Select Board has established goals that reflect our commitment to further enhancing the quality of life in Dedham. The board's FY24 goals encompass a variety of focus areas, from improving communication and transparency to continuing to improve community facilities, resources, and amenities. Towards both of those goals, we've implemented new online permitting system in the building department, which will be expanding to other town departments in the near future. We have a project team working on that now. We're launching a new website in the next couple of months, which will be a huge improvement over the current one, which Amanda, who is our communications director, does an excellent job keeping up to date, but we need a new platform, and so we'll finally have that. Regarding facilities, we're working with a Select Board appointed group to study the future use of the transfer station, which I know everyone was upset to see close a few years ago, so we'll have to see what the future of that site holds. And we have a working group that's been working on the town green now for a number of months, and we'll be presenting in the next couple of months a final design to the Select Board, which I think that the whole community is going to really embrace and be proud of. Perhaps most importantly, the Select Board has also prioritized maintaining and improving the financial health and stability of the community. So what does that look like? Thanks to years of solid financial planning and fiscal management, the town enjoys a AAA bond rating. That signifies that the town's financial position compares with the best of the best and allows us to borrow funds at the lowest rates possible. We can't just pay cash for everything. We do have to borrow money. This year, the town manager's office and the finance department worked with an expert from UMass Collins Center for Public Management to produce a 5-year financial forecast. You're going to be hearing more about that in a few minutes. Combined with our updated, more comprehensive 5-year capital plan, we are better positioned to make strategic decisions that will impact the town for the next 30 to 50 years. Working with the Finance and Warrant Committee, we also conducted a benchmarking study to allow decision makers at every level and every board and committee to compare Dedham to other similarly situated communities in the Commonwealth based on key performance measures. We can see where we excel, where we need improvement, and where we need to devote more resources. All of these efforts have been presented publicly to increase transparency, build trust in our local government, and better prepare us for whatever the future brings. So with that, I'm happy to introduce Stephen Cirillo from the Collins Center at UMass Boston, present Dedham's 5-year financial forecast. But before I do that, again, I want to thank the folks who have helped Mr. Cirillo on that, which is John Arnett, who's our finance director, and Brady Winston, who's our management analyst in our office, because this was a ton of work, and it's going to be a tool that we're going to use for a number of years to come. So again, thank you all.
Thanks, Leon. Thanks, Leon. And as Steve walks down, I just also want to thank, there's a lot of elected officials here, and I'm not going to name you all because I'll forget somebody, and then Chris Polito will come up afterwards and says, you forgot this one, you forgot that one. So with that, just want to say thank you to the electeds that are here today and the appointed. I know some members of Finance and Warrant and some citizens and town meeting representatives. So with that, we'll turn it over to Steve. And this is, we feel, an extremely important presentation for everyone to see and to pay attention to, because as we get into town meeting, it's important to not just look at tomorrow, but look further out. And this tool here is something that we feel is guidance to help make the decisions, so folks know what's coming. So Steve, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Stephen Cirillo. I work for the Edward Collins Center for Public Management. Before I start, I'd like to make a couple of general comments, if I could. Meetings of this nature, these budget summit meetings or community summit meetings, are great settings for the discussion of long-range forecasting and long-range planning. When you get everybody in the same room, all the stakeholders in the room, and you have everybody's access to the same data, it can only lead to consensus in the final product. Second thing I wanted to say is that, last year, I came before you and I presented a 5-year forecast for fiscal years 24 through fiscal year 28, and also a user guide. The intent of that project was to, of course, bring you the forecast that helped you establish the current year budget, but also to train your staff on how to put revenue and expenditure forecasts together in the future. I'm pleased to say that your town staff, excellent town staff, I should say, put this forecast together this evening. It was based upon data and a moment in time. A forecast is based on data and a moment in time. And this data came from late September. I reviewed the forecast. It's accurate. It's based on, it's an excellent forecast based on the data that we know as of now. There'll be additional data coming in, of course, between now and the time the budget is presented to the town meeting, and that should help close any revenue shortfalls that you might have. The long-range forecast is a tool. It allows the community to look over the horizon to see what the budgetary condition of the community is going to be over a period of 3 to 5 years. The forecast will usually produce a gap between recurring revenue and recurring appropriations. This isn't anything that should be shocking. This gap exists in every one of the 351 communities in the Commonwealth. When they start their annual budget process that develops and works towards a final project of a budget that's passed, we start with a forecast. The revenues are X, the appropriations are Y. What it does do, however, is by identifying the gap, it allows a community to set the parameters of the discussion. The discussion between department heads, staff, elected officials, appointed officials, all coming together, back and forth communicating, and ultimately putting their values together. When I mean values, what services do you value, which would be included in the next budget. Put them all together in a financial package that is supported by the available revenues. And that's what the forecast does. Now, I'd like to take you through some of these slides. Again, this is the forecast. I'm going to make sure that I have this right. And again, I am Stephen Cirillo from the Collins Center. We're going to review the town's long-range forecast this evening and talk about methodology and talk about best practices. We were funded, the Collins Center was funded by a community compact grant from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts that allowed us to come in last year and put the forecast together and the user guide together for you. The Collins Center provides other services for communities. We do capital budgeting, capital financing. We do long-range capital planning, financial policy development, performance management, regionalization, collaboration, operating reviews, the like. The forecast goals are the town's long-range forecast goals enable a long-range comprehensive plan for strategic decision-making in the town. And it is a 5-year revenue and expenditure forecast. They will include some BITS strategic long-range obligations for capital and for collective bargaining and for other strategic issues that drive the budget, budget drivers, we call them. Now, the methodology is that we have been using actual budget data for fiscal year 22, 23, and now 24 as base years. And then we extrapolate out from those base years to provide estimates of recurring revenues and recurring appropriations. We get data from warrant articles from the town meeting. We get data from the Mass state aid and state assessment databases, from your boards of assessors, and from financial documents in Munis. And also all of this data has been verified by your finance director for your community, John. Now this is the next year's forecast. This is fiscal year 25 through fiscal year 29. I apologize since it's such a long spreadsheet that it's difficult to point out what this really says. If you do a quick add of revenues and expenditures, you see there's a gap in fiscal year 25 of approximately $1.9 million. That means that as of, well, the data available to the community as of late September indicated that the recurring revenue and recurring appropriations would be this, and the recurring appropriations would be approximately $1.9 million greater than the recurring revenues. Now, this is nothing to panic about. I just want to assure you that it seems to be a big number, but it's approximately 1 to 1.5% of your operating budget. Think about that a second, 1 to 1.5%. The other thing you should think about is the fact that this data is as of late September. Your finance team is going to be getting additional information throughout the months of October and November and December and even into January. And some of that new data will just automatically close this gap. In addition to that, there'll be decisions that are made, decisions among professional staff and citizens and policymakers and volunteers about, again, what those values your community want to include in your next budget. And ultimately, by law, Massachusetts general law, that gap, by the time you reach the spring town meeting, will be eliminated. How will it be eliminated? Well, a combination of things. Better data should close the gap. Improve estimates of local receipts or total revenue. Sharper estimates of appropriations. Remember, we're guesstimating what health insurance is going to be right now in September when we're talking about what the true cost is going to be between July 1st of 24 and June 30th of 25. So that's a long way away. And that's why I caution you that this is the first glimpse of what your forecast is, but it will improve. In fact, it must improve because Mass General Law requires you to come in with a balanced operating budget. And one other thing I'd like to say about forecast is this: when you deal with a forecast, when I say deal, when you resolve a forecast in year one of this, we start with a $1.9 million deficit, and by May of 2024, when you go to town meeting, you vote a budget that's balanced. You've made some decisions. You made some revenue decisions, you made some appropriation decisions, and those decisions that you make that balance your fiscal 25 budget ripple into the future years, lowering the deficits, projected deficits in years 26 through year 29. So I just want to caution you that this is the first glimpse, nothing to be panicked at all. Now, I want to talk about some of the revenue summaries. The town does have unused taxing capacity. That means that over the prior years, the town did not tax as much as it could have taxed. And that's a good thing. You use in communities that have an opportunity to accumulate bits of this unused taxing capacity, they don't lose it. They just have it in reserve for when times get hard. And times get hard during worldwide recessions and viruses and things of that nature, or just because of things or items that are required, or the community demands for services in the future. And so the town has unused taxing capacity. At this point in time, it's about $4.7 million. I would suggest to you that that isn't a solution to your budget issues over the next 3 or 4 years. I would recommend that you use the unused taxing capacity not as a quick fix to solve your budget problems, but let's use another metaphor. Use it as a parachute, slowing the descent to a time when you have to make some really hard decisions, which probably will be in fiscal year 27, my best guesstimate is. And so by using your reserve taxing capacity slowly and making some decisions now, which some of them might be tough, but some of them which will improve the financial budgetary condition of your community, you will slow the process down of that deficit, and you might even be able to eliminate your future deficit or stretch the real true deficit out beyond fiscal year 27 to maybe 28 or 29. Next thing we want to talk about is revenues were calculated using historical data. One of the things we do is we provided a template for the community. And, some of you are versed in spreadsheets, you know that there's 1 million columns. And we have turned over to the community actual local receipts and actual taxes and actual state aid. Then we hide the columns. But it's there, and we provide that to the community, particularly to your financial team, to use historical trend analysis. They could really watch the trends in revenue and see where the high points are, where the low points are. They can compare them to some things that are happening in the broader world. Again, that inflation crisis that we've been going through, the virus, world wars, and you could track and see what affects the revenue flow. So we have based all of our revenue on historical data. Now, new growth is a piece of property tax. It is for buildings that have been constructed, or newly constructed buildings, or newly rehabbed buildings. If these properties were not in the tax bill or the property tax calculation in prior years, and then this new construction goes on, we have a mechanism, the state has allowed a mechanism for you to capture that new revenue and put it into the mix. We've used in our forecast, we've taken an average of your new growth development over 5 years and 10 years, and then we blended the two. Your 5-year average for new growth construction was $1,250,000. Your 10-year average is $1,200,000. So we used a blended average of $1,220,000, and we grow that estimated new growth development by about 2% per year, and that 2% is basically to say, over the years in the future, when someone constructs something, a building or something, the cost of the construction is going to be greater, so we might as well include that in slight increase in the forecast. Again, local receipts, we've used an average, the actuals, and I'll just say that I did a quick review of it this afternoon. Your fiscal year 25 estimate, that's what we're anticipating for next year, is very close to what your actual revenue local receipt collection was in calendar year 23. So the town is not dramatically underestimating local revenues. They're pretty accurate in estimating their revenues. As for appropriations, well, I spoke about a gap between revenue and a gap between recurring revenue and recurring appropriations. We know from the analysis, because revenue is pretty easy to forecast, that your revenue growth, net revenue growth after excluding debt exclusions, is about 2.75%. But your appropriation forecast is higher than that. Well, where do you get that? Well, we have included, I'll just tick off 4 or 5 of them. We have included in the forecast a wage increase, that's wages and steps, of about 3.5%, and that's across the board, town and school. In addition to that, you have health insurance that's estimated to grow by about 6% per year. You have a regional school that's growing by, at least in the last couple of years, by 6.5%. You have utility energy bills. Unfortunately, because of the world affairs, we had to put about a 5% growth in energy. And of course, then we have a number of projects, capital projects, that are not debt excluded, that you, the town, want to proceed with. That requires additional interest in principal that would go into the operating budget as well. So in the end, what you end up with is a gap. You have an estimated revenue of about 2.75% growth, and you have estimated appropriation growth of about 3.75. So it's somewhere between 1+% gap between recurring revenues and recurring expenditures. Now, best practices. I hate to sound professorial, but I spent about 25, 30 years teaching at the graduate program for public budgeting at the graduate program, and I always told my students you should present a budget in gross terms rather than net terms. And that's for you, the citizens, for you to have a better understanding of all the components that go into your financial plan. Many communities take state aid, gross state aid, and then they subtract state assessments out of it, and they present in their financial plan the net. Well, that doesn't do the community any good because you're missing components. What is the true state aid? What is the true state assessments? In our forecast, we show gross state aid, which ties to the cherry sheet, the amount that the legal form that the state gives each city and town, indicating what revenue, state revenue they would be getting. And we include all the categories of state assessments as well. So the forecast is built on pure data, and it ties back to some legal form issued from the state, which basically provides security that the numbers that we're using are accurate and not made up. Second thing we want to do, and this is very, very important, and most communities are doing this now, and I chastise them for it, is communities have a tendency to use one-time revenue rather than recurring revenue to support their operating budget. One-time revenue is things like free cash. 1 year free cash might be $5 million, and the next year it might be minus $2 million. It goes up and down. It's irregular, and therefore it's not recurring. Dedham is using free cash as at least 3/4 of the communities within the Commonwealth are all also using free cash. And it's a bad decision because, again, it's non-recurring and it builds a structural deficit into it. The good news is that, at least amongst members of the financial team and elected officials, we have discussed the need for the town to begin to phase down and phase out over a period of time the use of free cash. And some of this forecasted deficit, this forecasted gap, is because of that's some of that phase out. But you do have non-recurring revenue in the fiscal 25 forecast. You have about $1.9 million in free cash currently to support the estimated next year's budget, and you have about $500,000 in ARPA money, which is money came from the federal government during the latest crisis, whether it was the virus or inflation. I can't remember what ARPA was for now, it was so long ago. That $500,000 is in there as well. In 26, that $500,000 has gone away, you've used it up. But the good news is, at least from between fiscal 26 and 29, the town's forecast includes the beginning of that phase out, which is going to put you on the right track, doing the right thing, and eventually eliminate structural deficits that the community might have. Finally, capital financing. When I appeared before you last year, I was surprised at the level of commitment that the town offers for capital financing. It isn't a bad thing, it's just that it was generous. Most communities of this size commit to about 5% of their general fund revenue for principal and interest on debt. That's excluding debt exclusions. We're just talking about regular borrowing. Dedham is at a 10% mark. And so we, in the last year and over the last year, have discussed the possibility of slowly using some of your free cash to do pay-as-you-go financing of capital rather than borrowing. And over a period of time, that should take some of the pressure off of the community as far as deficits in future years as you begin to slightly run down your principal and interest commitment on an annual basis to an average of about 5%. And it's not going to happen overnight. It might actually happen over many years, 10 years or so. But it's the right thing to do. Again, it gets rid of a structural or a symptom or a reason that a structural deficit could occur because of overemphasis on non-excluded debt service. So those are some of the things that are included in the forecast that we have presented to you. Well, I want to thank you. The other thing is that the town has asked me to go over and talk about frequently asked questions. And so we have prepared to do some of this for you. The first question we had is it normal for a projected gap for a city or town? And it's not only normal, every city in town in the Commonwealth starts with a gap. Except for maybe Cambridge. Cambridge, because of the development on East Cambridge, is sitting on unused taxing capacity of about $40 million. But other than that, even when they put their forecast together, they correctly do not assume that they're going to use the unused taxing capacity. They present it to the community as this is the recurring revenue and recurring appropriations, and then they decide later if they were going to use the unused taxing capacity. And that's exactly what the town of Dedham is doing. So yes, communities all have gaps. What's the reason for the gap? Well, as I said to you, the revenue is growing by about 2.5 to 2.75% net. The appropriations are growing by about 3.75, and that's the gap. Those appropriation levels may come down, your revenue may grow, and again, that gap will close. What is the scale of the town's gap between revenues and expenditures? Well, for fiscal year 25, at this stage, as of the data based on late September, $1.9 million deficit. Does the long-range forecast adjust future levy capacity? Well, no. What that means is, are we assuming that we are going to use the uncommitted taxing capacity? And last year we did this, and this year we're doing it. We are not making the assumption that we're automatically going to use that unused taxing capacity before we explore all of the other possibilities. Is there any other revenue that can be increased? Is there any tightening of appropriation levels? Usually the unused taxing capacity is the last step rather than making that assumption at the beginning of the process. Is the new school construction included in the forecast? No, it can't be, because we don't know if the town meeting is going to authorize the project. We don't know if in the town election whether the town citizens will vote for debt exclusion. So the answer to that is we cannot assume that's going to happen. Upon a vote of the town meeting, it could be included in the future forecast. Would a debt exclusion affect the gap? No. A debt exclusion is specifically for a specific project. So if the school project were to be authorized and the citizens were to vote for a debt exclusion, that would be revenue dedicated purely to principal and interest on that project. So essentially it would be budget neutral. Your revenue would go up because of the debt exclusion. Your appropriations would go up because of your principal and interest on debt, but it would not have any effect on the gap at all. So there would be some effect on the forecast if the footprint of the building was larger than the existing one, because it would require more heating and more power and whatnot. It might require more staffing. And those are things that are not part of the discussion on should you do a capital project. Those are discussions that will take place in the future when discussing future school budgets. Does the future projected department budget include collective bargaining? Yes. At this point in time, we're for collective bargaining steps and COLA. We include a combination for about 3.5%. Included in the forecast, however, is a tab, we call it the COLA tab, which allows the policymakers and the financial team to play what-if scenarios. And just basically by plugging in a percentage into a sensitivity cell, you automatically will know how that percentage of your wage, projected wage, would affect the gap. And so we have armed your town financial team with that tool, and they'll be able to use that in the future. How were future property tax amounts forecast? Property tax is the easiest portion of the forecast to estimate. I can do it in my sleep. You take the current year property tax plus a 2.5% increase plus new growth development. Simple as that. The only thing that's estimated there is new growth development, which is not actually known until about 5 months after you have passed your operating budget for the next year. Your boards of assessors will get that number somewhere in early October. And so the budget that you are passing in May is based on an estimate of new growth development, which means that the town has to be cautious, and they can't be over-optimistic about what the new growth is. They should be slightly conservative in its estimate. You can always go back, and if you don't use it all, it just goes into that account that's of unused tax and capacity, and it can be used in a future year. You never lose the ability to access it. Are there other revenue sources the town should be looking at? Yes. Well, first of all, you have local receipts. You have a portfolio of about 17 or 18 various local receipts in the town. I often tell cities and towns that you should be looking at your local receipts annually. You don't have to increase them annually, but you should be looking at them annually. And somewhere in the 17 or 18 local receipts that you have, there's probably time to raise a local receipt or a local fee for some reason. You could also, I did a quick look this afternoon, and I noted that the overhead charges from the enterprise fund back to the town have been level funded, and that's normal for a city or town to do that at this early stages of a forecast. And the reason for that is we don't know what the benefits costs are going to be. We don't know yet what health insurance is going to be or what Medicare costs are going to be and whatnot. And those are overhead charges that are paid in the general fund for the enterprise fund. So the enterprise fund generates revenue and transfers it, an intra-fund transfer back to the town to pay for the services that the town provides for them. And those services go up every year simply because, well, health insurance goes up or pensions go up every year. So that's an area that could be looked at, not right now, but probably in late January. You could look at that to see if there's any additional revenues that could be done there. You could also look at pilots, payment in lieu of taxes. A lot of communities like to do that, but it's a hard road. I know I negotiated, 22 pilots for the town of Brookline in my tenure there over a period of 6 years, but they were the hardest darn things I ever did because nonprofits have the right not to pay. They don't have to pay. They're excluded by law, Mass General Law. The Commonwealth originally wanted to encourage nonprofits to come into the community, and the Commonwealth said we would like to provide a benefit, an incentive for nonprofits to come in to the communities and benefit the communities. The state legislature decided that the benefit would be 100% tax exemption. Well, that's just a simple vote of the state legislature that could change that if enough pressure could be brought against the legislative body. What changes have been made to the current year forecast? Well, we use fiscal 24 as the base rather than 23. We increased the OPEB funding, and again, the town has made some strategic plans to use some of that free cash to pay go some of that capital rather than borrowing it. And those are the questions I had. Oh, two others, I'm sorry. Is the school department sustainable? The school department budget sustainable? Based on what I see, you have a very reasonable school budget. Your regional school is exceptionally high, 6.5%. is pricey on an annual increase. The schools seem to be, at this point, sustainable. Again, and the final thing is that what is the average for communities to commitment to for debt service capital? The average community in the Commonwealth is providing, committing to about 5% of their general fund revenue to capital, and again, Dedham is committing to about 10 at this point. Those are the questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. So first, I want to thank those that are in attendance and those that tuned in, watched live. This will be played numerous times on Dedham TV. And I think what you heard tonight is some great updates from folks, as well as, you know, Steve's presentation, which, you know, I will say that, you know, over the course of the next months, as we not only get through the fall town meeting, but then as we start preparing, the select board will have updates by the finance department to the plan, so that everybody can see the same data and where we're heading. Because we believe that, you know, it's important as we plan and as we go to town meeting and ask folks to vote, that they know the impact, so that when the select board, this coming December, by the way, when we set the tax rate, it is a result of actions taken by town meeting. So it's important to understand that, you know, that there's a cost. There's a cost to running the town. There's a cost for services, and it's up to you know, our form of government to determine, you know, what's what's best for our town. But this particular tool that we now have, I think, will help to, you know, to guide and to give some answers, especially when it comes time for collective bargaining and being able to input. If we do this is what the cost is going to be. So everything will be transparent. And again, I want to thank Amanda, Brady, Nancy, Leon, and many others, you know, for the work to help to get this done. The code that we will put back up again. If you go to the town website, you'll be able to find the reports for those that are not only here, but those that have submitted to Amanda to put up. So finished a little early. There's some folks, if they want to ask some questions, come on down. But thank you for your time, and have a great night. Thank you.